If you've ever wondered how we make some of our controller holders, you're not alone. That's one of the biggest questions we get, how we go about making our controller holders. So typically we start out, if it's a custom order, we know what controller they're using, or if they just order off of our site, we first start off by what controller is it. And then from there, a lot of the controllers we've scanned them in, or a few of them we're lucky enough to actually have the CAD models that we can use in doing our design work. But we subtract the controllers out of the piece of wood that we want to use virtually. So we have a 3D model, and basically just put that controller in there, subtract it out so that we have kind of the void of where the controller would sit. And then from there, oftentimes we'll render it, kind of show it off if it's a new one that we haven't done before. And then generate G-code, that's tool paths, so that we can see kind of what the machine is going to do to cut it all out. Because once we have the 3D model of it, we actually have to make it. So to be able to make it, we create the tool paths, see what it's going to look like, see how it's going to remove the material, and we even have some simulation in our software that allows us to simulate that cutout. So it shows basically what it's going to look like when it's machining out the material. We can see if there are any areas that maybe it's not cutting out quite like we want, if we want it to look a certain way, make some adjustments to it. And then once we're done with that, then basically we save that out and go out to the shop floor and do the rest of it. So let's head on out, and we'll actually move on to cutting some wood and figuring out the rest of it. Alright, so now we're out at the shop, and we can see here we've got our trusty chop saw purchased right down from our local Home Depot. Nothing too fancy here. Throw in whatever wood we're using. In this case, we're going to use about a 2-inch thick piece of walnut, which is one of the thicker pieces that we use, and cut down to the size that we want. So we'll chop it, and then from here we'll be able to we'll use some fixtures, some clamps, clamp it down to the CNC table, and get ready to actually start cutting it. So let's take that right over to our table, and we'll lock it down. Alright, so it's fixed. We've fixtured it down. I just for the sake of time, kind of removed that whole part of it. But once we've got it fixtured down, we'll zero it, make sure it's all set to go, that it has the right bit in it. Oftentimes we'll use a flat end mill or a ball end mill, depending on what kind of cutting we're doing, on whether it's the inside or the outside of this. And from here we can just see some of the basic tool pathing. We saw the preview earlier, but this is just going in and actually cutting out all of the material. And I do it with a pretty fine step over so that there's not a lot of sanding that's required. But there is some sanding, so you'll see here I am that fast. I can sand pretty quick. But once I've sanded both of these, put little nubs and then oil them up. We use just beeswax oil that kind of makes them pop, brings out the grain, and it just protects them and makes them all nice and soft and smooth. And then from there, really, we have a laser cutter that will laser cut the top if we're etching or do anything on the top. And then we'll etch our logo in the very bottom, and voila, there you go. It's packaging it up and sending it off to whoever purchased it. So hopefully that helps kind of get an overall view of how we make them, the overall process, and hopefully enjoyed.